January 2023 is packed with big dates that are going to affect crypto. To keep you informed, I've made this monthly video to make you aware of all the big things that are happening. Welcome new viewers and old friends. Let's start it off with the heat map. No, we're not gonna start it off with the heat map because we got big dates to talk about. All right, January 2nd, we have the traditional markets in the United States that are closed, which means guess what, everyone? Those that love to trade are gonna be moving their action on over to the crypto market. January 4th, the FOMC minutes are gonna be released. That has to deal with the Fed. We're gonna talk about the Fed more later. Now, the reason why January 4th minutes are so big, they release this 2 weeks after they do their meetings, and this is like the more juicy deets of what happened at the meetings. Important stuff here. I'm gonna read it, probably do a video if there's something big that comes out of that. January 5th, we have jobless claims with January 6th, the unemployment report. You're sitting there thinking, how does unemployment matter? Well, remember, as macroeconomic conditions across the globe get worse, and some of them are actually getting better in some of the countries, we'll talk about that with CPI data later. This means that the actions done by central banks across the globe will definitely have an impact on businesses and employment. And since crypto is fed mostly by retail money, employment or unemployment actually has a massive impact on the amount of money that can flow into crypto. That's January 5th and 6th. January 12th is a big one, everyone. We have CPI data. All right, that's going to be released at 8:30 a.m. and we're going to be doing a live stream. We've done this now the last several months. It's been extremely successful. And what we do is we start the live stream before so you could show the market's pre-reaction. Then we show the market reacting to the data that's dropped. I've got CPI data up on the screen. And just to let you know, right now we're at 7.1. We need to get back down to that target rate of 2.0. So we still got a lot of action left. By the way, CPI data, what we're looking for, expectations this month for January 12th, we're hoping for 6.5 or less, all right? Anything above that 6.5, that's not going to be good for the crypto markets because that means Jerome Powell and the Fed are going to have to jack rates up at their FOMC meeting. Now, January 13th at 10 a.m., we have consumer sentiment. Again, remember, retail money is what's fueling crypto across the globe. So consumer sentiment ties into confidence, right? And what's next? We've got the World Crypto Summit. Yep, I want to show you this right here. That's January 13th to 15th. Now, if you're into like summits and events and stuff like that, I'm going to have a whole list of them here for you that are happening in January. And as always, any article you see in this video will be linked in the description below. And if you stay to the end of this, I'm going to show you some juicy calendars that actually show you the impact level that they have on the trading markets. January 17th, we have the Beige Book, everyone. This is arguably the second most important data set behind CPI data that Jerome Powell and the Fed uses to determine rate hikes, okay? Beige Book, extremely important. That is January 17th. January 19th, we have housing and building permits, all right? As well as housing sales on January 20th. And you're going, wait a minute, housing sales, how does that tie into crypto? Again, think this is the retail market. So if housing prices are going down, that means there's more available money to be put into other things like buying crypto. So again, housing is extremely important because we also want to see is the housing market cooling down, which is one of the biggest factors that's been leading to high inflation rates. We've already seen rent break a little bit, but what happens is there's always this lagging indicator. Here's why. Let's say you want to rent a home. It takes a few months for that to show up. Now, as rents go down, imagine if your rent was $2,000 and now it went down to $1,500, right? Because the market's softening. That means over the next couple months, you're going to have an extra $500. If we apply that to markets across the globe, that's more money that can flow into crypto. January 30th, oh my gosh, this one I got to show you. On January 30th, we have the LBRY penalty hearing. Originally, the penalty was set for $22+ million. They're sitting here asking the judge, hey, can you help us out with this? $22 million is a lot on top of lawyers' fees. Now, for those that are interested, right, this ties into the XRP case because we need to pay attention to all these factors out there because just in case XRP does lose, we need to see, hey, what are the expected penalties that the SEC is putting on the ones that are deemed securities? January 31st and February 1st. I know. February's not in a January calendar, but they kind of tie in, and I don't want you to get caught off guard. That is when the Feds are having their next set of meetings to determine the rate hikes, all right? So the 31st is going to be the first day of the meetings, no rate hike announcement that way. But February 1st, all right, is going to be when they announce their rate hike. That's usually done at 2 p.m. Eastern time, with Jerome Powell coming onto the mic at 2:30. Again, hit the subscribe button. Why? Because we're going to be live streaming it. We've had thousands of people watch those live streams. Now, it's super important for the month of January, and don't worry, if you stuck around, I'm going to show you some really cool resources. What's really important about the month of January, and let's go big screen real quick, and then we'll get back into this. And we'll keep the lights down low so it doesn't jack with my eyes this morning, but what's really big about January, February, March is that corporate budgets open back up. Anyone that's worked for a large corporation knows at the end of the year, they're super tight, right? They limit spending, they limit travel, entertainment, all that kind of stuff, okay? So that they can meet their budget, especially in a rough year like 2022. Now, what happens is these corporations, these companies, this is all across the globe too. What they do is they then open their budgets back up in January, which means there's going to be a lot more money flowing. That means new partnerships, funding for development and programs, maybe some buyouts, mergers, and acquisitions. That's why January, you're going to see a lot more action heating up in the market because more money is going to be able to flow, well, where it hasn't over the last several months. Now, if you stuck around to this point, I wanted to say thank you and make sure you hit that like button. It helps the algorithms. But here are the juicy details for you. And just like I said, remember, everything you want, it's all linked in the descriptions below. Look at this. This has got all of the juicy dates for the month. Now, this one right here, I love. This is from briefing.com. This has the dates as well as the trading impact of those dates. So like, for instance, right, job openings has a medium impact. We talk about that. Why? Because it has to do with retail money flowing back in, right? If there's high unemployment, no, there's not going to be a lot of people with extra money putting into things like crypto. Crude oil inventories right here is marked as a high impact. Why? Again, that affects the consumer. That affects the prices of everything. So if you want to get an even deeper dive into the dates of these things, the times of them, and their impacts on the market, I've got this resource here that I'm going to share with you. Now, in regards to the SEC versus Ripple Labs XRP case, there are quite a few dates set for January. Well, I'm going to leave this resource here as well. Here's the thing, though. We've seen that the SEC has filed motions for delays constantly, okay? So I don't want to provide you with dates knowing that the SEC is probably going to ask for extra time during this. Now, what I normally do, though, is when this big stuff happens, I do separate videos along the lines of this stuff. So if it's stuff that you're interested like this regarding Ripple Labs court dates, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're informed, but don't expect any groundbreaking action to happen January. January right now is set for procedural action. All right, so let's take all this jumbled mess right here, put a nice pretty little bow on it, and wrap her up. Okay, so basically January, budgets open up from corporations around the world, which means more money can flow into projects. And this is all companies, okay? I want you to even think of companies like Ripple Labs. Their budgets open back up in January because they use an annual budgeting calendar, all right? Everyone's tight at the end of the year. Things open up because they've already got it pre-planned. So first quarter of the year, you're going to see a lot more spending than you did in the fourth quarter of, well, the year that we're in right now as I'm recording this. Some big key takeaways, though. It's still going to be CPI data, everyone. We still have to follow CPI data and then what the Fed's reaction is to this. Now, Beige Book coming out is also going to be a big thing that we're paying attention to. So Jerome Powell has got big data coming out on January 12th and 17th that he's going to use for his meetings on January 31st and February 1st to determine the next rate hike. Now, when Jerome Powell was out there, and for those of you who are like, whoa, this is U.S. stuff. How does this help us out? Remember, central banks across the globe take cues from the U.S. Fed. In fact, the Gulf countries, right, little Middle East action, they basically do what the Fed does. Yeah, they mirror the Fed, right? Instead of, hey, reinventing the wheel, just go, hey, Jerome Powell and the Fed, you guys seem to know what you're doing, we'll mimic you. So central banks everywhere really follow the Fed. The key here is this. When Jerome Powell was on the mic last time, he was like, look, we are not satisfied with the amount that inflation is going down. Remember that chart I showed you that had the bars kind of going up and down? He said it's not enough. He said, yeah, be excited that 7.1 is way less than 9.1, right? So apparently we've already passed peak inflation. But think about that number. If our goal is 2.0 and we're still at 7.1, We've got a lot of work to go. That's why when we're looking at these new CPI data coming out, we need to see the CPI data go down by a delta of 0.6, 0.7, if not more. And that's what Jerome Powell said. He's like, look, don't be excited with 7.1. There's still so much more work to do. Speaking of work to do, I gotta end this video and do some more work to get you the videos that you care about. Now, until I put another video out, here's one right here that'll give you even more information on the crypto and Web3 space. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like what you saw, hit the like button, helps the algos out. If you think it's really worth it, hit the subscribe button. Until more news breaks, you cool cats, have a great rest of your day.